Jay here, Stretford, Paddock, and we are live. Breaking news here. We've had an update from Fabrizio Romano, the man himself. You have to forgive me at the setup here. We're not at the studio. It's just one of those things. News broke and we thought, quite quick, let's do an update. Let's go live and let everyone know what is going down. So, yeah, bit of a makeshift setup here. I'm just in my kitchen, as you may have gathered. So, what is actually going on? Well, Fabrizio Romano, you know him, Mr. Here We Go himself. He sort of sent everyone into a bit of a frenzy because he's just tweeted about 39 minutes ago. Manchester United have restarted contacts to sign Jadon Sancho. Talks on with players camp on personal terms. Potential contract until 2026. No official bid yet. Dortmund prepared to sell, but only for 90 million stroke 95 million euros. No move from Liverpool Football Club, which is, you know, good to know, to be honest with you. I mean, yes, we fully expected that, but it looks like now negotiations are underway and it's finally begun, because this has been going on for so long now. It's been, what has it been, a full year, and now it looks like we're finally starting to get a little bit closer to it actually happening, and Manchester United seem to have sort of been in place where we're going for the negotiations. We've got a contract in place we will offer him till 2026, so it'll be a 5-year deal. It makes sense. There's a little bit of a sticking point there, but looks like this move is edging closer now. When someone like Fabrizio Romano says things like that, people tend to notice. He's already, I mean, that tweet he's put out has already had 21,000 likes and God knows how many retweets. I think it's 4,000 retweets on the fact that the contract negotiations have restarted, and it looks like it's a positive move. The one sort of question mark I will have about his tweet, though, is no move from LFC. I mean, why he's mentioning Liverpool Football Club is beyond me a little bit. You know, why even mention them? Is he expecting something to happen there? Obviously, we hope not. But we'll have to wait and see there. But it certainly looks like Manchester United are finally moving things forward. And this is something that we've waited for a while now. We know that Jadon Sancho wants to come to Manchester United. We know that Manchester United want Jadon Sancho. We know that we wanted him last season. And we know that the sticking point was, of course, the transfer fee. Now, the transfer fee last season was rumoured to be around, or reported to be around 130 million euros in terms of what Dortmund wanted. 120, 130 million euros. United not willing to pay that. But now it seems that Dortmund, have lowered their price a little bit. He's a further year into his contract, so his price is going to be lower. There's the fact that also we're in the middle of a pandemic. Not everyone's got money, including Dortmund, who look like they could do with some money as well. We know that all the clubs have been hit hard. We know what that led to, with some clubs coming up with that cockamamie European Super League idea, which I don't need to go into the ins and outs of that. We all know what we thought about that. But it seems that with Dortmund lowering it slightly, United still being keen. And also, you've got to remember that last summer, there probably wasn't this sense of urgency, or there probably wasn't this desire from the board, from the club, to make Jadon Sancho deal happen. They probably thought, you know, we can wait, or it's not that much of a priority, it's not that important if we don't get that deal done. Things have changed lately from Manchester United's point of view. You've seen, for starters, we sort of got involved in a title race, where you think that maybe someone like a Jadon Sancho would have pushed us closer to that title. Who knows what would have happened had we had Jadon Sancho in our team. And if we want to kick on from last season, then you need to buy someone like Jadon Sancho. You don't go from second to first by buying players that are just going to sit on the bench. You need someone who's going to come into your first team. So there's one thing as well. Then you've seen the reaction from the fans, the reaction from the board as well. The fact that Joel Glazer actually met the fans forum. Now, I'm not saying that means that we're going to go out and buy Jadon Sancho, any stretch of the imagination. But they've seen the anger from fans. They know that fans want more than just squad signings. We want lots of things from the Glazers. We want them to stop taking money of our club. They want them to stop giving themselves dividends. We want them to stop ploughing us into all this debt. We want them to rebuild Old Trafford. We want them to give us a proper training facilities. We want all these things, but we also want the squad strengthening, the team strengthening. And the owners have seen our area here. They've seen the anger that is amongst Manchester United fans. They've seen it firsthand when games were postponed, when the training ground was overrun, when sponsors have been pulling out because they've been getting so much grief, and because Manchester United fans have been hammering the sort of reviews and all that other sort of stuff. So they know that they need to strengthen. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer himself has talked about the need for signings. He said that he's been promised signings, that he's promised signings as well. So you expect signings. You know that Sancho's a target, and now it seems like there is a little bit of a development there, shall we say, when someone like Romano comes out and says this, then you listen to him. He's ultra reliable, Fabrizio Romano. He isn't Mr. Here We Go. I mean, we had him on the channel in the summer. We're having him on the channel again soon as well. We're going to be doing an interview with Fabrizio Romano where we're going to be asking him about Jadon Sancho, about Manchester United's other targets as well, and how many players he expects us to sign in this transfer window. Is it going to be Jadon Sancho and one other? Are we going to go big? Are we going to see a sort of transfer window that we saw when we had, do you remember Louis van Gaal as manager, and we bought all them players? We went a little bit crazy, didn't we, in the transfer window, when we bought likes of Falcao and Di Maria and Schneiderlin and Shaw and all the rest of it? Or we just got to temper our expectations a little bit? By rights, the owners should be pumping money into the transfer window because it's our money. They should be giving us, or giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the signings he needs. And we know we need strengthening, not just with Jadon Sancho. We also need, arguably, a centre-back, probably, you could argue. Maybe we need another striker. We definitely need a central midfielder. We need a CDM. So you'd think that Jadon Sancho would be one of at least 3 or 4 players that come in this summer. But first things first, let's get that deal done. Let's get that over the line and let's make that happen. And it looks like that's what we're edging towards now with the negotiations underway. The fact that it says now that Manchester United have restarted, according to Fabrizio Romano, restarted contacts to sign Jadon Sancho, there must be some confidence from Manchester United that this deal can happen. I don't see Manchester United going into these negotiations with their eyes completely closed, because we saw what happened last summer. Last summer, Dortmund said, here's a deadline. This is a deadline. We are not negotiating past that deadline. If you do not make the signing, if you do not give us the fee that we want by this deadline, it is over. Now, lots of people looked at that. We spoke to a lot of journalists on Stretford Paddock who said, it's not happening. Once that deadline goes past it, a lot of the journalists were saying, forget it, it's not going to happen. But there's quite a lot of people, mainly on social media and others, and United fans, who said, hang on a minute, we can still make this happen. Dortmund won't dig their heels in, they won't have it, we can make them lower the price. And apparently, according to some reports as well, the club felt like that. The club felt that Dortmund would lower their price and that Dortmund would be willing to take less than the 120, 130 million pounds that was that was being reportedly wanted by Dortmund, that they'd go as low as 80 or 90 or whatever. Didn't happen at all, and then we didn't end up obviously getting Jadon Sancho. Now things are different. Dortmund can't expect the same money. They can't expect 120, 130 million for a player that, you know, is a year further into his contract, hasn't had quite the same season last season as he had the season before. Still had a very good season, I'm not denying that, especially towards the end of the season. I think if you look at his record towards the end of the season, was it 15 goals and 10 assists towards the end of the season? Just flew, didn't it? Helped them win the German Cup, helped them get to top 3 as well, where at one point it looked like Dortmund weren't even going to get into the Champions League. It looked like the Champions League was beyond them because of the problems they were having and the fact that so many players just were underperforming. At one point, they were sort of closer to mid-table than they were to the top. But he certainly pulled his socks up. They had a great end to the season. He had a very good end to the season, but it wasn't quite the consistent season that he'd had previously. So you look at that, you think maybe now the price is going to lower. Then there's a pandemic. Then there's this theory that Dortmund don't have the money that they did have, or that they thought they had. They do need to sell. Now, are they likely to sell Erling Haaland and Jadon Sancho this window? I'm not so sure. Erling Haaland has a buyout clause next summer, so they could keep hold of Erling Haaland this summer and sell Jadon Sancho. So they've still got one superstar. They've still got Jude Bellingham, of course, who's a very, very good player in the England squad. And they can go out and they can buy other players as well. If they get 90, 80 million off Manchester United, they can go out and reinvest that. And that's something that Dortmund do very well. They're very good at selling players and buying replacements for them. And there's already been reports that they're looking at some of the players to come in, or one of the players to come in as a replacement for Jadon Sancho, if Jadon Sancho does move on. So it looks like things are moving ahead. Obviously, with the news from Romano that Manchester United restarted contacts with the club, that's a positive move. The main thing now isn't going to be about Jadon Sancho and his contract and those negotiations. I feel that Jadon Sancho has always been someone who's willing to come to Manchester United. We saw this last season. All the reports indicated that he was happy to come to Manchester United. Obviously, he knows Manchester. He's been at Manchester City. He knows a lot of the players. Marcus Rashford, of course, getting us all a little bit excited with his tweets and my bro and all that sort of stuff, tweeting pictures of himself and Jadon Sancho when they're away with England. We've seen all that sort of stuff. Those two reportedly get on really well. Is that going to have an influence? I don't think the problem here is convincing Jadon Sancho to come to Manchester United. I think he's always been willing to, and he still will be willing to come to Manchester United. The problem is going to be the fee. Can Manchester United, or will Manchester United, pay the money that Dortmund want? Now, I think it's very risky for Manchester United's owners and the board to go into this now, after last season, after last summer, and not get him. I think if United turn around and say, we couldn't make this deal happen, I think there's going to be a lot of angry people out there. There's going to be a lot of fans that were thinking, why are we bothering? After all this bluster, all this talk from Joe Glazer, all this nonsense about we're going to listen to the fans, we're going to make us competitive, we want a challenge for the elite, we want to be active in the transfer market, we're going to give Ollie the support he needs. All the sort of noises we've heard from the club. If you can't go out and you can't make that happen with a long-term target who's obviously willing to come to the club when you know the price is there, then you're just not even pretending to give a toss anymore. You're making it obvious that you just don't. So I think the club are playing a risky deal here, a risky business if they don't make this happen. I think this is a deal they have to make happen. I really believe that. And you can turn around and say, well, it doesn't really matter. If we don't get Jadon Sancho, we've still got Mason Greenwood who can play on the right. We've still got Amad Diallo. I think he scored a goal, did he, tonight for his country against Burkina Faso. So was it a free kick? Good free kick as well. But no disrespect to Diallo, I'm sure he's going to be a great player in the future. We need someone who can come into this team and elevate us to the next level right away. We need a right winger. We've not had a proper right winger in this team since what? Antonio Valencia. I mean, come on, man. This is it's beyond a joke, innit, really? You can't be going into this season without a proper right winger, or relying on 19-year-old Mason Greenwood to play out of position again, or relying on 18-year-old Amad Diallo to play week in, week out. It's just not going to happen. You can't be putting Marcus Rashford over on the right wing. Marcus Rashford isn't a winger, let alone a right winger. He does play on the left. He plays as sort of like an inside forward, doesn't he, on the left-hand side. So you can't be doing that. You just can't. It's not good enough. I'm just going to look at some of your comments. There are loads of people in the chats. Barry Lee says, Sancho ain't good enough. We need a CDM, defender and right back. I'm guessing there what he means is Sancho on his own isn't good enough. You need more. I get all that. I completely agree. I think that we can't just have Jadon Sancho. We need strengthening in other areas. We need a CDM, man. Seriously. I like Scott McTominay and I like Fred, but just those two as our two number sixes just doesn't work. Lil Yo-Yo in the super chat says, man, I genuinely thought it was a here we go. It's getting closer, and don't you worry, when there is a here we go, we will be here bells and whistles with here we go at the top of our voices. You will know straight away if we get a here we go from Fabrizio Romano. If anyone breaks a story, it should be Fabrizio Romano. He's usually the most reliable, but if we hear anything of that sort, if it is, yes, here we go, we'll keep you posted. And don't forget, of course, I've mentioned earlier, we're going to have Romano on the channel soon as well, so we'll be hearing from him in the next week or so he can give us an update. He can let us know how close this deal and other deals are to happening. Someone else in the chat, Adam, says, where has it gone? Sorry, Adam. What about Aaron Wan-Bissaka at centre-back rumours? Mate, we've been hearing this sort of thing for a little while. Can he play at centre-back? I'm not so sure. People saying there were some suggestions that if Kieran Trippier come in, maybe Aaron Wan-Bissaka was going to move into the middle. I'm not so sure. I think maybe Aaron Wan-Bissaka could play on the right-hand side of the back three. I don't know if you play him at centre-back. It's unlikely for me, but, we'll have to wait and see. Glenn Chesterton says, who do you prefer, Rice or Niguez? Not seen as much of Saul Niguez as others. So for that reason, I'd probably go Declan Rice. I think he's come on leaps and bounds the last couple of seasons. But listen, I won't be complaining if Niguez leaves Atletico Madrid and comes to Manchester United. We need someone who can play in that role. I know he can play various roles, but we need someone in that CDM role. So I'd be quite happy to see either of them. But if you gave me a choice, I'd probably go with Declan Rice. Roger Benjamin says, sell McFred and get Harvey Barnes and Reece Oxford. Stephen McGuinness, he's always in the chat about Declan Rice, man. He always, listen, what Declan Rice did in terms of who he plays for his country, that's not really something I overly get concerned about, I'll be honest with you. I'm more concerned about what he does if he comes to Manchester United and whether he will come to Manchester United and whether we're going to be able to afford him. Are we going to be able to afford a Declan Rice, a Jadon Sancho, and perhaps someone like a Jules Koundé or whatever, and a Kieran Trippier? We're hearing today that Kieran Trippier's been house hunting. He looks a step closer, but the main news tonight has been Jadon Sancho. And if you just joined us, I will give you a quick update. Fabrizio Romano, the man himself, who's got 3 million followers on Twitter, by the way. Fabrizio Romano. Can you believe that? We interviewed him last summer on the Tier 1 Transfer podcast, and I remember congratulating him on 1 million followers. He'd just gone up to 1 million followers on Twitter. So in basically less than a year, or it's been about a year, he's getting 2 million followers. He's tripled his number of followers. That shows you how many people put weight behind his words and what he says, and how reliable he is and how respected he is. Because if you've got 3 million people following you, and I mean this with all respect, when you're just a journalist, you must be getting some things right. Anyway, he tweeted, Manchester United have restarted contacts to sign Jadon Sancho. Talks on with players camp on personal terms. And he's put in brackets, potential contract until 2026. underneath that, he's put no official bid yet. Dortmund prepared to sell Sancho, but only for 90 million / 95 million euros. No move from Liverpool Football Club, and I hope that stays the same. I don't know what Liverpool Football Club are even getting mentioned here. He's also done a link to his Instagram, and there's a little bit more there, so I'll go into that as well. He says on his Instagram here, this is on Fabrizio Romano's Instagram, he says, no official bid to Dortmund yet, but Man United are planning to try again for Sancho after being one step away from signing him last summer. It's going to be discussed after talks with players camp up to Manchester United board. Borussia Dortmund have an agreement with Sancho to let him leave this summer, but, and this is in sort of inverted commas, only in case the right bid will arrive. Price tag around 90 million / 95 million euros and not 120 million euros as a year ago. This is the Liverpool bit. Liverpool have not opened talks for Jadon, despite rumours weeks ago. No bid or contacts from Liverpool as of today. Let's hope it stays that way. And then he's just put a little bit of a clearance here, a little bit of a disclaimer. To be clear, it's not a done deal or set to be completed yet. United are just back on Sancho as top target, and let's see what happens. So that's the full sort of quote and what Fabrizio Romano has been saying about all this. He's been saying that we're talking to Jadon Sancho's people. We're back on it. He's our target. Liverpool, who were rumoured to be in, haven't made any sort of, no bid. There's nothing there. Seems unlikely to me that Liverpool are suddenly going to stump up 95 million euros for someone when they've not really been concretely reported to be linked with him. I know there's been rumours, but there's always rumours. So it would be highly surprising if all of a sudden Liverpool went, yeah, we're in for him, here's 95 million euros. But you can see there, the price tag has dropped from Dortmund's end, from 120 million euros to 90 million euros. Seems a lot more doable. And also, there as well, Romano confirming it, that there's no official bid yet, but Man United are planning to try again after being one step away last summer. And we know what the stepping point was. We know what the sticking point was there. It was the price tag. It wasn't that Jadon Sancho didn't want to come to Manchester United. It wasn't that Manchester United didn't want Jadon Sancho. It was the fact that we weren't going to pay 120 million euros for him, and that is what Borussia Dortmund felt they could get for him. Now, he's a further year into his contract. He's had a decent season, maybe not shone as brightly as he did previously. Maybe that might come into some sort of thinking there with his price tag or whatever. But 90 million euros for a player like Jadon Sancho. Someone's saying there, Danny says, Sancho's worth 77 for the year till Cavani leaves after £77 million deal. Cristiano Madano, sorry, I'm butchering that one, says he is worth 80 million at most. United Red says Liverpool will get Rafinha, we'll get Sancho. Anon says probably won't pay 90 million euros. What is that? Is that about 80 million? In fact, let me do the maths here. I'm going to do the maths. I'm talking about, so 90 million euros is about 77 million pounds, which is probably about right in it. For Jadon Sancho, you'd expect to pay roughly about that sort of fee for him, wouldn't you? 77 million pounds for a player who's 21 years old. He's had, 3 seasons now in the Bundesliga? Sort of I know he's had 4 seasons, but 3 full seasons there where he's been pretty much excellent throughout that time. He's an England international, of course. He's still only young. I think that you're talking the right sort of money there. I think 77 million quid is roughly what you'd be expecting to pay for that. I know it's a lot of money. It's a big chunk of change, but you're not going to get a player of the calibre of Jadon Sancho for 60, 50 million even. It doesn't happen, does it? The only way you're going to get him is if you pay 70, maybe closer to 80 million. Even then, it's still open to negotiations. Depends how hard Dortmund want to play ball. It depends as well whether Manchester United can afford to do what we did last season. Can we afford to say, we'll walk away from this one? Because we pushed it, didn't we? And Dortmund were like, listen, this is our deadline, it's gone. And then we were like, oh yeah, we'll see about that. But we never actually paid 120 or offered the 120 million euros. And Dortmund never lowered it below that. Can we afford to do that? Can we afford to say, all right then, we're not going to pay 95 million, we'll walk away? I don't think we can. Said it earlier, if you just joined us, say that I feel like the pressure's on Manchester United's board now to deliver at least one marquee name. We saw that Joe Glazer addressed the fans forum. Doesn't matter whether you take much credence in what he says at all. The fact is, the pressure's on from the fans. They have to start spending money. They have to start spending our money. It's our money, not theirs, the Glazers. and investing it into the squad. If we are going to kick on, if we are going to try and catch City, if we are going to try and get closer to winning Champions Leagues and winning Premier League titles, then we need players like Jadon Sancho. Because let's face facts, it hurts me as a Manchester United fan to see that you've got someone like Chelsea winning the Champions League, you've got Manchester City winning the league, you've got us losing the Europa League final, you've got us, other than what, a couple of weeks was it around Christmas time, not really looking like a title challenge really. I know we all said 21 is coming, but we were top of the league for was it a matter of weeks, not months. If we really want to go for it, if we really want to challenge, if we really want to be at the very top, if we want to catch a Manchester City team that are expected to spend big this summer as well after losing that Champions League final, then I think we've got to get Jadon Sancho. I think we have. I'm going to get in some of your comments now. Let us know what you think. James says, Jay doing this in his kitchen is going to put Cam out of a job, but no danger of that. I think this is one of the few times you'll see me in my kitchen doing videos. Also, Thomas Werb says, he was not great and nearly invisible the first half of the season. Didn't have the greatest first half of the season, did he, Jadon Sancho, last season? It's probably a little bit, could be down to the fact that his head might have been turned. It looked like he was going to come to Manchester United, didn't it? It looked like that was a done deal. And then it fell through. I don't know whether he was a little bit upset, whether he was just like, you know what, I had my heart set on this, it looked like the move was going to happen, and whether that just distracted him a little bit, because we saw it, didn't we? We saw like his form wasn't great. There was sort of rumours that he was unhappy and all this sort of stuff. And I think if you look at it, I'm just looking now through some of his stats. I mean, he got a few assists in his first sort of 10 Bundesliga games, but he didn't get any. I don't think he got any goals. And then he started to really pick it up towards the end of the season. He had a really good spell. I think there was like 8 games where he scored 6 goals and got 6 assists as well. Had a muscle tear, I think, that kept him out for a few weeks, but then came back strong in the back end of the season. A couple of goals against RB Leipzig, a couple of assists against Mainz as well. Helped Dortmund, this is in the Bundesliga, helped them to get top 3, and also played his part domestically in the cups as well, because Dortmund won the cup. They picked up a bit of silverware, which is actually quite rare for them. They don't usually win trophies, Dortmund, and he played a big part of that, including in the final, getting 2 goals and an assist there. So he had a fantastic game in the final, helped them win 4-1, helped them deliver silverware, helped them got top 3. So with all that, you think, oh, maybe his price has gone up, but we're a year into his contract, further year into his contract. Over the course of the season, probably wasn't quite as consistent. So let's wait and see what happens. I think someone's trolling there. Gigalo Steve says, should get Josh King for free. Don't. That's a Glazer move, that, innit? No disrespect to Josh King, but come on. You know, that's the sort of thing. We can sometimes expect from this board. I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to leave it there. But if you just joined us quickly, the news from Fabrizio Romano. We've had an update from Romano. The update was Manchester United have restarted contracts. This is on Twitter, to sign Jadon Sancho. Talks on with the players' camp on personal terms. In brackets, potential contract until 2026. No official bid yet. Dortmund prepared to sell Sancho, but only for 90 million, 95 million euros. No move from LFC. Then he's put a link to his Instagram, and the full sort of quote and what he said on Instagram says, Manchester United main target is Sancho, and then working on the deal again. United have now restarted contacts with Jadon Sancho. Direct talks with players' camp on personal terms. So you got to feel there's some confidence there. If we're going into this saying, right, what's your personal terms? There must be something there where we feel we can get this player. Potential contract until 2026, and salary is 1 year to go to be confirmed as United proposal. Agent's fee has never been an issue, so the agent's fee isn't a problem. Can't say that for granted. Do you remember? I think it was Eden Hazard, wasn't it, where the agent fee proper put Fergie off. But apparently on this is not the case now. United aren't fussed about agent fee, it's not an issue. No official bid to Dortmund yet, but United are planning to try again for Sancho after being one step away from signing him. One little step, man. Pains me, doesn't it? That could have been a title challenge, a real title challenge. It could have been a title, who knows? Signed last summer. It's going to be discussed after talks with players' camp up to Manchester United board. Dortmund have an agreement with Sancho to let him leave this summer, but only, this is in brackets, in inverted commas, but only in case the right bid will arrive. Price tag around 90 million euros and not 120 million as a year ago. Liverpool have not opened talks for Jadon, despite rumours weeks ago. No bid or contact from LFC as of today. Let's keep it that way. To be clear, it's not a done deal, all set to be completed yet. United are just back on Sancho as top target. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens indeed. Anyway, I'll go through a couple of comments there. Gigalo Steve, what do you think of Trippier coming to United? I'll have him back up, rotation with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Could be a good signing, that one. Could be someone as well that gives us a different option on the right side, much more attack-minded. Devon's, there's some, I think there's some Arsenal fans in England. What's going on there? Glenn F says, Ahmad is our right winger. He is. He probably is a little bit more long-term than someone like Jadon Sancho. I know he's only 3 years younger, but I expect him to sort of come in. Jadon Sancho, I expect Amad Diallo to have a bright future sometime in the future. I don't know if next season, for example, he's going to be playing week in, week out. I wouldn't have thought that. Someone like Jadon Sancho obviously would. I'm going to leave it there. Martin Darcy says, Jay, what do you think of Arsenal fans? Someone's got to support Arsenal, haven't they? I'll leave it there. Thanks for all your support. Do get involved in the comments and the chat as well. I know we're going to wrap it up, but do hit like, do hit subscribe. Let us know as well what you think. You know, get involved with the channel. Let us know what you think about Jadon Sancho. Is he the answer to our problems? Do we need more than that? Do we need a CDM? Do we need a right back? Do we need a centre back? There's so many rumours floating about who we're going to get. Who do you think Manchester United's priority should be? But at the moment, it's moving closer to Jadon Sancho becoming a Manchester United player, potentially on a 5-year deal as well. I've been Jay Motty. This has been Stretford Paddock with some breaking news. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.